Welcome back to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Susie Selleck. Today we are in Southgate, Kentucky, and I am joined by Mayor Jim Hamburg right here in the
City Council chambers.
Yeah, this place is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's got a lot of age on it, and it looks real well. So it's like wine; it improves with age.
Yeah, I would guess so. So taking it back, where did Southgate get its name from?
We got our name mainly because of the Southgate family. They were actually the southern gate protectors of the city of London, and also because we're the southern gate of Newport. That's the reason why, or how we got its name.
Okay.
How we got our name, so it's pretty unique. In the Southgate monolith, there was a family and in Southgate or of Southgate, and their monolith, their monument, is still in Evergreen Cemetery.
When was the town established?
April of 1907, and we celebrated our centennial in May of 2007.
All right.
So yeah.
Any notable celebrations from that?
Yeah, we had a big Memorial Day that we did at Memorial Park. We had a couple of speakers that day. And then also, too, he had a celebration that evening. Actually, he had a celebration down at our community park at the community center. And then that night, we had some fireworks that evening, too, from Rozzy. So it was really a good day for everybody to be around.
Nice.
Yeah.
And on that note, the city of Southgate now, what does it have to offer people? And especially, and the kids get left out a lot, but especially the kids.
I think you'll find that we do a lot of community events. There are a number of various community organizations, such as the Southgate Optimist Club. We've got active groups here. The fire department, the volunteer fire department next door is very, very active in the community. Obviously, our police department is too, but they have been around for over 100 years too as well. So at the same time with the fire department, one night a year, we have the kids that come here from both schools, Southgate Independent and also St. Therese, to take over our places in this room. And we actually are here to guide them, but they follow through the agenda that we have set forth. We help them along as to do or what not to do. We videotape it so they can see it on cable and see themselves that night. We exchange our places for them, from the fire chief to the mayor to the police chief to our public works person, our city clerk, our city attorney, our city treasurer, and all the council members too as well. So it takes about maybe a half hour or 45-minute meeting, and they love it. It's just one of the neat things. And I had one of the kids stop me just recently on one of the streets over here that said, "Do you remember me? I was in your first year in 2007 when I did this, and I was actually mayor that year." And I won't mention any names. That was pretty unique when I saw that. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I would have never recognized you after all these years.
Yeah, the city building that we're in today, has it always been the location right here?
It's been here. This building has been here, obviously, since 1939. We believe there was another building here, too, as well, on the same side or close to it, that had just one big garage door, a big steeple on the top. You may see a picture of that. But this building was built by the PWA, by the Public Works Administration, or the Roosevelt administration in 1939.
So is there a tunnel of some sort that you can talk about a little?
That was also built by the PWA.
All right.
It's between St. Therese and also the laundromat in Fort Thomas across the street that goes under US 27. It's a 4-lane, goes under a 4-lane highway. I think we're one of 3 or 4 that are still around in the state today. And that was built also, as I mentioned, by the PWA. And I believe that was probably around that same time that the city building was built.
Okay.
And we can, kids still use that back and forth. People do that going to church or just across the highway instead of going across the highway. There is a light there with a crosswalk. It's above ground, but people just prefer still to use that tunnel to get back and forth.
Where did the streetcar line stop? Well,
the streetcar line ran up Electric Avenue here, and the rails are still in the street. We've actually got, we cut one rail out of about 12 to 15 inches long. It probably weighs 400 pounds. And we had to do that when we repaired part of the street over here. That had to happen. And it is heavy. It's a heavy rail. That streetcar line ran up to where the VFW is today. And there was a loop around, if you will, that turned around in a loop and came back to the shelter house. It's still there, right behind St. Therese Church and Memorial Park. So that shelter house is still right there as a remnant of the old streetcar line.
One of the things you and I talked a lot about is an emphasis on the community center here. Mm-hmm. Can you just kind of explain to people watching?
We purchased the community center lot back in 1991, 92, I believe it was. from, it was called Bell Acres.
Okay.
Mr. Rolfeson owned that property at the time. We purchased that, and the goal was to build a community center. We've been given some money from the state. We went ahead and used those funds, if you will, to build a community center for just that purpose.
Right.
It houses roughly about 300 to 350 people in the large room. Small room, maybe about 80. There is a full kitchen back there and on the back of it. There's an amphitheater near it. Our police department's located down there. There's a ballpark there, which used to be a lake, but we took all the excavation up in Aspen Ridge in that subdivision and buried it there is what they did. And then we took about 15 feet of river residue and put on top of that to quit the rocks from coming through after the winter times. Huh. So we did that. There are walking trails back there that connect Southgate, Wilder, and Newport.
Oh.
So all three cities convolute, plus there's a fishing lake back there too.
What's the mileage around that? Do you know? It's got to be.
I think it's about just over a mile.
Oh, okay. What are the two things that Southgate's known for?
Well, there's a couple of main things that we're known for. Obviously, we're known as the hometown of Jim Bunning, of Senator Bunning, and we're very proud of that. Jim was born and raised here in Southgate. Went to St. Therese, grew up here locally, played ball here in the ballpark behind St. Therese. That's how he got his start. Went on, he was the only pitcher at the time to pitch a no-hitter in both leagues, the American and the National League. And then from there, went on to public life, served on city council in Fort Thomas, went downstate, served as state representative there, moved on to become a senator, actually a U.S. representative on the national scene, and then later on, and many years later, became with Senator Bunning. So he is a Hall of Famer, obviously, from Baseball Hall of Fame. But just as a gentleman that I learned was very wise about politics and things and how to be involved and how to stay involved within the community. And I'm very honored to be able to talk about Jim. Other thing that we're known for is because of Beverly Hills. And Beverly Hills, as you know, was the third worst restaurant fire in U.S. history. Killed 165 people on May 28th in 1977. That site is still vacant up on top of the hill today. The road is still there. Going up to that site, John Davidson was performing that night, and many of the folks, unfortunately, did not get out of that fire when it had occurred. And a lot of our firefighters still here in this city fought that fire. A lot of gentlemen fought that fire that night. A lot of surrounding communities came in. We had units as far away as Norwood were coming in from over Ohio. Duro Paper Bag over in Ludlow went up that same night. Covington was on its way over here and had to turn around and go back to Ludlow to try to help fight the fire. So we had two major fires in northern Kentucky. But this one was the most tragic of the two that night, unfortunately. Right. Fort Thomas was kind enough to open the armory in Fort Thomas to use as a temporary morgue. I hate to just use that term, but that's what it was. Right. So Fort Thomas and neighboring community here, all the communities here in northern Kentucky, because of that fire, pulled together in Southgate, and we'll always be respectful of that because of that happening and because of those cities helping. And we do help each other out, even not just so much on that, but for other things today, for law enforcement, as well as firefighting too as well. We do respond to help them when we're called, and they in turn help us too as well.
Some of the signs that we see now at 80 occupancy, 120 occupancy, the exit lights that we find on top of doors, the way doors swing out. So where did those derive from?
Well, there were about over 140 regulations that came out of the Beverly Hills fire. Those regulations all came out because of that fire. Insulation on wiring, things like that, how wires are set, separation of wires, not causing any type of sparking between wires, things like that too as well. And those are new codes that were established because of the fire that are countrywide, not just here locally.
Thank you for watching another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Susie Selleck, and today we were in Southgate, Kentucky with the one and only Mayor Jim Hamburg. Jim, thank you again.
Thanks, Susie. Do appreciate it.
Hey, and remember,
travel slowly
and stop often. Bye for now.
Thanks.